Hello everyone, welcome to Rasayan Academy, and this is our 28th video in the name reaction series, and we are going to talk about the Brook rearrangement today. So guys, as you know, you have already heard about this reaction a lot. It is important for your CSIR also, as well as it is important for your normal BSc and MSc exams. That is the Brook rearrangement, because it is something of very unpredictable reaction basically. Alright, and very similar reactions you have also seen, for example the Peterson elimination reaction, which also undergoes similar, which is basically through a similar kind of intermediate. Okay, so we are going to be talking about Brook rearrangement. Let's see. So what is the reaction? It is a rearrangement of alpha silyl oxyanions. So what is alpha silyl oxyanion to alpha silyl oxy carbanion? So that's a very small little difference. So let's say you are starting with alpha silyl oxyanion. So the focus is on oxyanion over here. So it is going to be like this, right? The focus is on the oxyanion. So this is your oxyanion to alpha silyloxy carbanion to alpha silyloxy carbanion. Basically, silyl oxy bond has formed R1 and R2, and this is the carbanion now. So this is your rearrangement basically via a reversible process involving a penta-coordinated silicon intermediate, that is known as the 1,2 Brook rearrangement or 1,2 silyl migration. Sometimes it is also called the 1,2 silyl migration as well. Now the Brook rearrangement can be for the alpha silyl oxyanion or the beta, gamma and so on. So hence we classify it under 1,2 Brook rearrangement, 1,3 Brook rearrangement, 1,4 and 1,5 also. So we are going to see examples of all of these rearrangements into this today's video. Alright, so what are we talking about? Let's see first one, the 1,2 Brook rearrangement that goes through the alpha silyl oxyanion. Okay, so yes, here is what we have. We have alpha hydroxysilane basically. So on the alpha position you have the OH group as well as you have the silicon group. Silicon could have any substituent. It could be a trimethylsilyl or it could be a tertiary butoxide, tertiary butyl dimethylsilyl, something like that. Alright, so it must have three alkyl groups and in the presence of a strong base. Now alkyl lithiums are very strong bases, and along with that they also stabilize the carbanion like this. Okay, so that is why we are taking alpha the alkyl lithiums as our bases. Alright, so we are going to move onwards and we are going to check out the mechanism. Very easy mechanism it is. So it was mentioned it goes through a penta coordinated silicon intermediate. What is that? Let's see. So yes, the mechanism is right over here. On the same alpha carbon you have the OH group and along with that you have the SiR3 also. Very well. Now we move onwards. We have the alkyl lithium. The alkyl group is first of all going to abstract the OH proton, very highly basic. That gives you oxyanion. Now this is oxyanion. So we have alpha silyl oxyanion basically, right? And it is going to attack on the silicon. It is not attacking on the carbon, it is attacking on the silicon, and hence you get a penta coordinated silicon intermediate. Now here the silicon is penta coordinated and it has a negative charge density that has come from the oxygen right over here, and you know it is not stable intermediate. So what happens is rearrangement happens and the carbon silicon bond is going to break now. Okay, because the silicon has a greater affinity for oxygen, fluorine, hard nucleophiles basically. So the bond breaks and you are having ROTMS or SiR3, whatever group is present, and a minus charge. Now you have carbanion this side, which is going to be stabilized by lithium plus. You can also write it in this manner. It is very simple. Now what you do further with this alpha anion, basically the carbanion, what are you going to do with it? You can do a workup, you can provide any other electrophile. Alright, that completely depends on the reaction, but this rearrangement that is when we are having the alpha hydroxysilane basically, and that moves on to the, yes, OTMS, मतलब basically you are having the OTMS, trimethylsilyl or tertiary butoxylyl and so on. Those kind of groups when you have ultimately and a carbanion, then you call it the Brook rearrangement. And if it is there in the alpha position, both of these group they are in the alpha position, it is called the 1,2 Brook rearrangement. When it is there in the beta position, or let's say on two different carbons, it will be called the 1,3. So let's quickly see some of the methods of generation of alpha silyl alkoxide basically. Now why have I taken all the methods? Because it's a very simple reaction and you must not get confused if there is only a little bit of change in the reaction mechanism, right? See, ultimately you want oxyanion, isn't it? Alpha silyl oxyanion. So on the same alpha carbon you have a silyl group, and this is the oxyanion. So this is what you want finally. So how can we generate it? So many methods. Let's see. First of all, you can make a nucleophile attack on the carbonyl group which also has a alpha silyl group, right? So this is what you have in this kind of a molecule. Okay, alpha silyl, let's say ketone, right? You can have the nucleophile attacking and you got the alpha silyl oxyanion. Now it is further going to give the same reaction. Alright, I'm showing it directly, although it goes through a pentacoordinated silane intermediate. But yes, you can write it directly just for writing the mechanism in short, OSIR3. And this is your carbanion right over here, let's say, which is stabilized by lithium or any other counterpart anion. Okay, so basically this carbon now has the anion. Similarly, you have option number 2 where already you had an alcohol. So this is your alpha silyl alcohol, that is what you have, and the alcohol is now deprotonated basically from a base. The base could be anything, it could be a alkyl lithium or it could be a tertiary butoxide base and so on, a base which is stronger than the OH, just that. So the base can remove this proton and it can once again generate the alpha silyl oxyanion. Okay, and it goes through the same reaction, 1,2 Brook rearrangement. Whenever you are talking about alpha, it goes through 1,2 Brook rearrangement only. Similarly, when you have a ketone, now you have all the carbon bonds and the ketone like this. When you have a simple ketone, but now you have to make it attack by the silyl anion, right? So here you are having the silyl anion which attacks on the carbonyl group. Hence again you generate the alpha silyl oxyanion. Okay, so the focus is on oxyanion. Alright, yes. So 3 methods, let's see more. Now there is a very popular role of epoxide. Epoxides are a little bit confusing, but they are very easily, the regioselectivity is very easily achieved in the case of epoxides. So let's say you have a nucleophile and you have a alpha silyl epoxide. Okay, so it is the silyl epoxide that you have. When you have a nucleophile, now the nucleophile could be a methyl from the methyl lithium or the Grignard reagent, or it could be a hydride from the lithium aluminium hydride, let's say, and so on, right? So when the nucleophile attacks on the epoxide, always it is going to be from the less hindered side. Yes, and this is the regioselectivity of epoxide opening with negative ion, basically with a carbanion or any anion basically. Alright, so this is what you have, epoxide opening, and this again you get a alpha silyl oxyanion. So more focus on the oxyanion till now. Yes, after the rearrangement it is going to give you alpha silyloxy carbanion. Okay, so very confusing words but very nice also. So let's say the attack is on silicon, and now you get the same thing that we were doing. Very simple reaction it is, SiR3, and yes, so now this is alpha silyloxy anion. So just that there is a difference in space. Here we have a space between silyl and oxy anion. Here we have a space between the silyloxy and the anion, which is a carbanion basically. Alright, just that. Now in the other process that you have, now here you see that you have an epoxide but you don't have a nucleophile. But what you have is you have a base, a very nice example. You have a base. The base can remove the alpha proton to the epoxide if there is a possibility. Yes, and it is going to make the electron density fall on this bond so that the epoxide opens up from the less hindered side once again, and it is opening up towards the silyl group once again. So it is going to give the 1,2 Bruch rearrangement once again. So all of these examples that I've shown you over here, they are all alpha silyl oxyanions. Okay, and all of them are going to give the same 1,2 Bruch rearrangement. Okay, alright, now let's talk about the 1,3 Bruch rearrangement as well. Now what is the difference? The only difference is that you are going to have the oxy group and the silyl group on a difference of one carbon, right? So in the 1,2 Bruch rearrangement you got it on the same carbon, O minus and SiR3 for example. Okay, you got it on the same carbon. But here in the 1,3 Bruch rearrangement you have it on two different carbons, let's say alpha and beta. Yes, so it is on the beta carbon. Alright, so once again the same thing, O minus there is, right, it is stabilized by the lithium cation, so it is going to attack over silicon and the bond falls over here on the beta carbon. So you have O SiR3 bond and the new carbanion generated on the beta carbon, which is stabilized by lithium. Now what you get from this is depends on what is the electrophile that you provide. You can provide a proton which gives you complete hydrolysis and basically a CH bond formation. Then you can have another kind of an electrophile, the methyl iodide and so on, so you get a carbon methyl group bond. Now there is one very good question which is asked, that why is the reaction going in the forward direction even though it is a reversible reaction, but what is the driving force? The driving force is that silicon has a greater affinity. Silicon has a huge affinity for hard nucleophiles. What do I mean by hard nucleophiles? For example, the nucleophiles having the silicon, let's say, yes, something like this, or let's say for hard SiR3, it has a affinity for hard nucleophiles, for example the oxide nucleophiles and the amide nucleophiles, which is basically having nitrogen, or also with the fluoride. Alright, huge affinity towards oxygen, nitrogen and fluorine, and that is why the carbanion which is formed once again, it is not going to attack back on silicon to give you the oxyanion once again. The major side is going to give you this product, alpha silyloxy carbanion, like this. Okay, so this is what you get as the one product of the 1,3 Bruch rearrangement also. Similarly, in the 1,4 Bruch rearrangement, what do we see? There is going to be a distance of one more carbon. So it is, for example, the alpha carbon, beta and gamma. Right, so on the gamma carbon you have the silicon. So okay, you have a oxyanion already present over here, attacks on the silicon and the negative charge falls up on the gamma carbon like this, and it is going to be stabilized by the lithium positive ion. So this is what you get from the 1,4 Bruch rearrangement. Similarly, we can do one more example. I hope that this part was all clear to all of you. Bruch rearrangement is a very simple reaction. Let's talk about this now, this example over here. What do you result into? What do you look at? Now this is a very simple molecule. You just have to understand that what are we looking at. Now TMS is trimethyl silyl group. It is the trimethyl silyl group that we have. And what is the difference between the oxygen and the silicon, that you have to first of all find. So let's say you have 1, 2, 3, 4 and fifth position. Basically it is on this position. The silicon is from the oxygen, it is on to the fifth position, right? There are 4 carbons in between. Let's move back and let's check out. So if we are talking about 1,2 group rearrangement, then they are on the same carbon. Yes, the OH group and the SiR3 group, they are on the same carbon. If we are talking about 1,3 group rearrangement, they are on the adjacent carbons. Okay, if we are talking about 1,4 group rearrangement, there is a difference of only 1 carbon. Let's see, there is OLi over here and SiR3, only difference of 1 carbon. 1 carbon difference. Yes, so we call it 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, something like this. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, yes, similarly, what are we going to call it, guys? 1, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Yes, once again, let's see. There is a base. Alright, base is going to take away this proton. Now I'm writing O minus directly. So it is 1, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. It is going to be the 1,5 group rearrangement. Alright, so yes, oxygen attacks over silicon like this and the bond falls up onto this carbon. Okay, so further what do you get? Let me just draw. Here you get OTMS because it is trimethylsilyl group, very easy to draw. Rest everything is going to remain the same. On the 4th carbon you still have the cyclohexyl group. Alright, basically it is our diethylene system. And the negative charge is going to be stabilized by the lithium. Alright, or basically you have a potassium over here, so let's write potassium. Alright, by the counter anion basically. Now you can this is more like a Ampolang reaction, because usually on the carbons you have a positive charge, but in the group rearrangement you get a negative charge on the carbon. Alright, so what is the fate of this carbanion that is generated? That depends on what you are providing to it. Here we don't have any such electrophile present as such. So after all of the major reactions you have aqueous workup. In the aqueous workup you are just going to generate, or you are just going to end up with this kind of a molecule, OTMS and the butyl. So this is going to be your major product in the 1,5 Brook rearrangement right over here. So we have done 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4 and 1,5 Brook rearrangement. Now we are going to see a very nice application of the Brook rearrangement itself. That is when, let's say, we have the possibility of ring opening, then that is also possible. Let's see, silyl migration is happening. So 1, 2 or any kind of Brook rearrangement is silyl group migration ultimately. So the silyl migration driven by the relief of ring strain, that is also one of the possibilities that we have, and let's check out quickly. So in the start of the reaction, in the beginning of the reaction, what do you see? You see alpha silyl ketone like this, and in the second part you see alpha silyl epoxide. What are we doing with that? Let's see what is the possibility. You have a tertiary butyl lithium. Now this is a very strong base in the presence of a polar molecule. So butyl lithium is a very strong base. Where is it going to abstract the proton from? Yes, you don't have any possibility, no alpha hydrogen present over here. In this molecule you don't have an alpha hydrogen either, but the hydrogen which is connected to the epoxy carbon, it is going to be more acidic as compared to all of the other possibilities, that is this methyl or the R group and so on, right? So yes, you have a hydrogen over here as well as over here. Since the high proton is connected to silicon and oxygen, this is going to be more acidic from this side. And let's say it is removed, by the tertiary butyl lithium. Now there would be a carbanion onto this carbon. Yes, it is actually like this, a carbanion on the epoxy carbon. Now I'm writing TMS because it is trimethylsilyl and the R group. Okay, now you get a nucleophile which can attack onto this carbon. Yes, so this nucleophile can attack onto this carbon and carbon. The bond can open up. From here, this is what you get. Now, in this molecule, if you realize, we have a possibility after the Brook rearrangement happens. What is Brook rearrangement? You have alpha oxy anion and basically alpha silyl group. So the Brook rearrangement, just the negative charge is not going to stay localized onto this carbon. The negative charge can fall up over here onto the double bond, so that this strained three-membered epoxide, this opens up. And when it does, let's look over here. When it does, देखो, oxygen attacks over silicon, the bond moves up and there is a double bond created over here and the epoxide opens up from this side. So when it happens, you are getting, okay, oxygen and TMS, which is the trimethylsilyl group, it is connected to oxygen. You get a double bond over here on the alpha carbon. On the alpha carbon, you have the TMS group, which is the trimethylsilyl, and this becomes the oxyanion, O minus right over here. Okay, so this is what you get, and after the aqueous workup, this is going to be your final product. Now you might have a confusion over here, that is, ma'am, why are we not doing one more Brook rearrangement? That is, why are we not doing, this is OTMS, fine, very good, but you have a silicon on this side and one of the intermediates that you got was O minus, isn't it, after this ring opens up. So you can also get the 1,3 Brook rearrangement. The oxygen attacks over silicon, bonds opens up to the sp2 carbon. Now here it is the sp2 carbon, it is not an alkyl group, so hence the breaking of this bond is not as easy as compared to the breaking of a simple sp3 carbon silicon bond. So we are not having any further Brook rearrangement. It is the oxyanion is going to stay as it is right over here. Alright, and it is going to give you this final product on the aqueous workup. Alright, so I just took a lot of examples on the Brook rearrangement. I hope that you understood the reaction. You can try it and read from a standard book. Many more examples you will see. Alright guys, so this was it on Brook rearrangement. I hope that you liked it, and if you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Also share it with all of your friends, because sharing free knowledge is very, very important. And yes, as you already know, I'm an educator on the Unacademy Plus platform. If you want, you can check out my profile. And guys, we are studying, we are basically focusing on the full syllabus coverage of the CSIR NET exam, chemical sciences, right? So if you want, you can check out my profile. And if you are liking the content, you can also subscribe to Unacademy Plus, where we are having course-based study. We are talking about different courses in which we complete the syllabus. Alright, along with the revision and PYQs, along with doubts and so on. Lot of features of Unacademy Plus. If you visit the profile, you will know by yourself. And don't forget to use the code JAGRITI for a 10% discount on the subscription. And here I will take a leave. Also check out the description box below for various links, important links. And yes, bye and see you in the next video.